I think one of the things that sort of I think about a lot is the correction in tech that's happening in America, and how much you think that will play out in India. Certainly, I think a lot of the big tech startups in India, unicorns, multi-unicorns, there is a certain correction. There is a certain correction in valuation.
Of course.
And that valuation correction does impact the jobs, the size of the organization. How closely are you watching it? Do you think it's overdue?
No, Anand, I think you followed tech for long enough. I've followed tech. I've lived in tech for long enough to know that if your nose is following just the valuation curve, then you're bound to keep doing this. You're just going to do this sinusoidal. But if you average out that, you see what the slope is across that. You'll see that there's been a consistent growth in value that is being created by the digital ecosystem around the world. There is consistent growth of the digital economy as a part of the global economy, as we are seeing in India as well. So if you just look at the trend line, it is solid growth despite all these occasional meltdowns you had in the early 2000s, or I was on the other side of a meltdown.
Yeah.
We saw the internet bubble burst. So those type of valuation corrections will always follow. I think now the hot thing is AI. Yeah. And so anybody who has an AI startup can command his value or her value. Semiconductor startups are now seeing, AI compute startups are seeing value. You see NVIDIA's valuation.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago, it was just another semiconductor company struggling to make gaming boards, high-performance gaming boards, and here they are now almost $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
So I think that is part of the technology ecosystem. As people see a certain trend, a certain new disruption, capital will fly towards there, bubbles will be formed, then it will correct. That is, in my opinion, part of the DNA of a technology ecosystem. Now, are many startups going bust? Are many people running out of capital to grow? Of course, and that is again, in my opinion, the very nature of being in a startup ecosystem. That type of volatility, succeed or fail, is part of what startups are. I don't see anything dramatically different, excepting that post the Ukraine-Russia war, there is a certain risk aversion that has emerged for the equity class as a whole. And so therefore there is less capital that is running after private equity deals, or if they are running after it, they are because of demand-supply rationalization, that the valuations have corrected.
Aren't you being too kind to this whole game? Because it sounds like a lot of these guys were getting valuation based on customers and user acquisition, and then they had no bottom line. They disrupted industries, but they never landed their own business model.
No, Anand, look, I certainly don't want to pick on any company or pick on any particular investor.
No, okay, I'll say a name. You're a minister, I'll say a name. I'll give a name like Byju's. The largest valuation, largest startup in the country. I think the last valuation they did was $20 billion, $22 billion valuation. They raised money at that valuation, and then they're talking about raising debt. So when you're so big, does the government does it get concerned how many jobs will be on the street? Like in my industry, BuzzFeed shut down news. Quartz sold down for $1. Vox is in bankruptcy.
Look, on
Vice is in bankruptcy.
On this particular area of an investee's bid and an investor's response to that, investee's ask and an investor's response to that ask, really governments cannot come into it. It's private capital going after private opportunities. So I don't think if like I say to people, even the Constitution even though it doesn't say it, there is a fundamental right for everybody to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So that applies to investors as well. So if somebody wants to make an investment based on a particular narrative or a deck that says, look, there is this untapped market for education is so big in India, and I have size and scale and market dominance for that market, and I think I can command a $20 billion valuation. And the other side, somebody says, okay, fine, I'm willing to accept that and write a check. Who's the government to come in the picture? So that will continue. I think that is the model. We will not certainly step in to arbitrate or moderate or intermediate on valuation. It's a private deal between two people who are all both mature. One has the money, one wants the money, and the twain shall do a deal.